Well, hey there, ladies, and welcome to day 2 of Inspired Impact. I am super excited to be here with you today. Today, I am talking all about fear and how can we combat fear when it is getting in the way of our results. Stops you from stretching. It is actually something that is hardwired to get in your way, so it can be really, really impactful to have some tips and techniques on how to deal with that. So today's topic is fear. Hey Gail, how you going? So what exactly is it and how does it get in the way of you and your business? Essentially, fear is a safety response. It's something that the amygdala creates. That's the reptilian part of your brain. It's one of the oldest parts of your brain, and it's frankly a bit of a pain in the butt. It's where fight or flight comes from. It's all about survival, and it hasn't really evolved a great deal. Like, all the evolution has happened in the prefrontal cortex. That's where all the smarts are. But the amygdala, it's about keeping us safe. And we don't live in cave times anymore. And so the amygdala can't distinguish between danger and discomfort. And really all it's got to go on these days is discomfort. So anytime we feel uncomfortable about a situation, or we feel like we may not have control, or we're stepping outside of our comfort zone, you might be worrying about something, you might be focusing on something more than you need to be, that turns into a fear response. And it has a really physical impact on us, right? Depending on how serious the fear is, how big the fear is, or how big we let it get, you can get shallow breathing, you can get panic feelings, you can get anxiety, your heart starts racing. But more than that, it stops you being able to think. It can really take away your ability to get out of it, to take action. It keeps you in that place. And the whole point of it is to stop you from doing something that is going to make you uncomfortable. Now, the really hard part about that is, as you guys know, you are very smart women. You can't get forward, you can't move forward in your business or in any area of your life where you're trying to make change happen without stepping outside of your comfort zone. And this is why it's really, really important to have tools and techniques to be able to deal with fear when it raises its head. So that's what I'm talking about today. Now, I 100% know what this feels like. 20 years ago, when I started my career working with businesses and helping them create change, I had to talk to a lot of leaders, I had to facilitate, and I was the biggest introvert you've ever met in your life. And it was terrifying to me to have to be in front of people like that, to put myself as the center of attention, to have to talk about stuff that maybe I didn't feel like I was an expert in. And I had to learn fear responses, learn what my fear responses were and how then I could deal with them. And it's a set of tools that has grown over the years that I cannot tell you how valuable it has been for me. You will need to work out what it is that works best for you. I'm going to give you today, though, some tips on how to deal with it when the amygdala takes over. Now, the first thing I'm going to say is we can't think our way out of a response. When your body is in that kind of fight or flight response and seeking to protect us, you can't think your way out of that. And if you try, you're likely going to end up in a spiral. And I'm guessing that most of you who are watching this will have experienced that, where you go round and round in circles and you have conversations with yourself and other people, but all in your head. That is something, hey Bonnie, how you going? That's something that you can't think yourself out of a fear response. But what you can do is use both some physical techniques and some mental techniques to start to get it under control. The first one is actually really, really basic. When I feel a fear response coming up, and it's for me now, it's almost like a welling up, like I feel anxiety in my stomach. And so I don't get anxiety very often now, but my fear response still starts there. It's almost like that's my learned physical response to fear. And so I feel it welling up, and I can feel my thought processes turning off. And so as soon as I feel that sensation, I stop and I take a really deep breath. And by deep breath, I don't mean expand your chest. I mean, hey Ellie, how you going? I mean expand your diaphragm down into your stomach. So physically push your stomach out with the breath and exhale. And do it again. Now, for me, I'm really practiced at doing that now, and because my fear response starts in my stomach, when I take that deep breath and I expand my diaphragm into my stomach, it feels like I'm physically doing something about that sensation, and I find that really helpful. It may be different for you, or it may be that you just need to learn and practice it, but deep breathing is actually proven, biologically speaking, and it's very weird to be talking about this stuff. This is like, but my undergrad, which was a very, very long time ago, was in biomedical sciences and physiology. It's kind of weird to me that it's making a comeback 20 years later in my business coaching world. But anyway, it's scientifically proven that the physical response that you have when you do that kind of deep breathing, it does circumvent the synaptic pathways and the hormone responses that are happening as a result of that fear response. So there's biology to it. It's not just, take a deep breath and get on with it, sunshine, you'll be fine. It does actually start to stop that process. The other thing that I find really, really important though, is when I'm feeling really fearful of something, it's actually not dissimilar to what I was talking about yesterday with beliefs. If you ignore it, it will not go away. In fact, it will probably make it bigger. And so pushing it down and just pretending that it's not there, it's not terribly helpful to you in the long term. What I have found that is way more useful is to allow the fear to be real and acknowledged. It's like when your kids have a bad dream, and if you can get them to talk about it, just the mere act of saying those words out loud, it releases them from it a bit. It stops that, cycle of memory of the dream and the fear that they felt going around in their heads, because they're able to talk it out with you and realize that maybe it's not as big as what they thought it was. You are actually not that much more evolved than your little kids in that response. Like, fear is such a base experience for us. And so by acknowledging your fears, hey Melissa, how you going? By acknowledging your fears and giving them the light of day and saying them out loud, you're actually taking their power away. And that's really, really impactful for you. Because if you can reduce the power that I'm just having a little arm break there. If you can reduce the power that your fear has over you, then you are 50% of the way there. Yeah? Let me know if this is making sense. Give me a yes if you are... if you have felt some of the things that I'm talking about here today. So we've got deep breathing when you're in a moment of fear, and we've got acknowledging the fear and not trying to ignore that it's there. One technique which is really helpful is actually the same one we talked about yesterday with beliefs. So Gail says, yes, totally relate. Awesome. Thank you, Gail. So that's the question technique. So start to ask yourself questions. And again, I'm going to give you your child analogy there, because that's what we do with our children. We ask them questions and we ask them to explore the idea. And we ask them to go, well, do you think that that's really what could happen? Do you think that... Do you think that there really could be a monster under your bed? Why do you think that? Where could they come from? Are they really going to hurt you? What does that look like? And you're asking them lots of questions. You do the same thing in your own treatment of your fears, particularly as it relates to your business, okay? So ask yourself questions. If you're really worried about that, I always start with, these days, what is the worst that can happen? I am not in a life or death business. I don't operate on people. I don't save lives. I can create an impact for somebody, but what's the worst thing that could happen? Well, I could let someone down. That would be really, really bad. That would be something that would really hit me from an integrity perspective. But I can apologize and I can make amends, and there aren't too many situations that you can't fix. And so starting to explore what is the worst that could happen and why is that so bad and what am I going to do about it, and then release the outcome. And I'm going to talk more about releasing the outcome later this week because that's actually a whole topic in and of itself. But when we're talking about fear, if you release the outcome and just go, do you know what? I know what it is that I need to do. I know that I've done this before. It might be something that makes me a bit nervous, but that's okay. I'm going to give it a go anyway. And what's the worst that can happen? It's also really, really helpful to look for truths in your response to that fear. And what I mean by that is finding small elements of it that can prove to you that you've got this. Prove to you that it's not as bad as it feels or seems, and prove to you that you are able to do something tangible to change it. So in any big situation, rather than stressing about the big element that's causing the fear, find a small bit that you can chip off. Because as soon as you're able to achieve that, that's not the right word, that's not what I'm looking for, but as soon as you're able to prove to yourself, you start to build trust in yourself. So if I go back to my facilitation example, for me, I needed to start by being hyper-organised for any session that I had to facilitate. And that was something that I knew I could do. I could plan it out, I could, go through the key questions, I could, plan for the sorts of things that might happen to derail the content I was trying to facilitate or whatever that might be, but I could go in with a really solid plan. And that meant that I felt more able to pivot when I needed to and respond to what was happening in the room. The other thing that I did was I just decided that when I was facilitating, it wasn't me, it was a role that I would step into a facilitator's role. Again, I used deep breathing to expand my chest and kind of go, breathe out the tension that I was feeling and just start, because once I started, everything was fine. Now, over time that evolved and I didn't need all of those techniques, but what those little things did was build trust in myself, of me, because I was the only, everybody else was like, you'll be fine, it'll be fine, I don't know what you're worried about, but I needed to learn how to trust myself in that scenario. So learning what those little things are that you can do to prove to yourself that you do actually have what it takes to resolve whatever the situation might be can be really helpful. Because what you want to do is you want to be able to stretch. And I don't know if I fully subscribe to feel the fear and do it anyway, but I don't think that you can grow your business and be successful and get to the heights that you're looking for without feeling fear. And I think that every time you set yourself a stretch goal, especially when your business is relatively new, you will fear some fear. You will feel a bit of a response going, ooh, hooray. Okay, well, we did that. We set that goal. Now let's see if we can achieve it. And so it's really, really important to learn how to embrace that as part of how you step up and how you start to relish challenge and look forward to it. And I promise you that you will get to that place. You absolutely will. And I can promise you that because I did. So I love facilitation. I actually know that that's a strength of mine, and I always get good outcomes. And I think I've told you guys before that was actually the coming to life of an affirmation that I used to use, and it turned into a belief, and that belief fostered success in that kind of environment for me. And so it's very, very possible for you to change your thought patterns, but you've got to start somewhere. So that's it for me today. Your homework for today is to sit down and think about some of the fears that you're feeling right now in terms of where you want your business to go next, because we're getting ready to level up our businesses. That's what Inspired Impact is all about this week, is dealing with the stuff that holds us back from taking massive action in our businesses. We want to grow. We've all got big visions. We've all got dreams of where we want life to go and what we want our businesses to be doing. And what I want you to do is think about where you want that to go. and think about what it's going to take, and then just acknowledge the fears that bubble up along with that. Maybe it's a feeling of inadequacy, maybe it's a lack of confidence, maybe it's a fear that nobody's going to come on the journey with you, maybe it's a little bit of insecurity about whether you can create transformation for someone. I don't think you can create transformation for someone, but you can help them create transformation for themselves. You know, maybe you're just worried about how you're going to show up. Maybe you're scared of going live. Maybe you're scared of writing copy. Maybe someone has given you negative feedback at some point and it just sits in the back of your mind and comes out and pokes you every time you try and do that thing again. Whatever the fear is that is holding you back, some people are actually scared of success. A really common one when someone's trying to work towards a launch or a sale is to go, oh, but I don't want to sell too much, and then they actually hold themselves back from doing what it takes to get the sales that they need. Gail says fear of failure and people saying, I told you it wouldn't work. Yeah, absolutely. There are so many doubters out there. But let me tell you, when someone says something negative to you or when they say something positive to you, neither of those things are about you. It's all about them. When when you do it to someone else, it's exactly the same. You are projecting a reflection of how you're feeling onto that person. And it's way more powerful and way more impactful in a bad way. I'm trying to think of another word for it. When it's a negative comment, because you take on then their fear or their insecurity because they've said that to you about you. And it's super unfair. So try and remember that it's not about you. It is about them. Bonnie also said talking about it introduces your right hemisphere of the brain and helps integrate it so you can process it properly. Completely. Talking about it out loud brings it up into the prefrontal cortex, your conscious thought patterns, and it takes it out of that automatic, fight or flight hormonal response that results from, the amygdala center. So thank you, Bonnie. Yeah, that's a really good point. So I said that I had some exciting news for you guys, and I do. So what I'm doing this week is setting you up to be able to get absolute maximum value possible out of a training that I'm doing next Thursday. I'm going to be opening up registration later this week, and it's a brand new webinar that I'm doing. I haven't done this one before, but I'm talking you through my 5-step super effective strategy for creating a 5-figure product launch. And what you need in your business is the number one thing you can absolutely do is deal with mindset, and that's why we're focusing on Inspired Impact this week. But once you've got tools and techniques in place to keep your headspace in the game and to know how to deal with it when stuff comes up, because Lord knows stuff comes up, and that will never actually stop happening, then you just need a system. You need to be able to have some steps that you can implement in your business and then do and learn and fail and make new learnings and optimize it and be able to implement it in your business whenever you want to be able to create a product that will sell for you when you need it to. So that's what I'm going to be covering in the webinar, but I wanted to set you guys up for success first. So look out for that registration. Also, exciting news, I have a brand new group coaching program which I am launching over the next couple of weeks, and applications are going to open for that on the 4th of October, so next Thursday. Is that next Thursday? Yes, next Thursday. So look out for more information on that. I know that I have found that group coaching is my absolute favorite thing to do because it's how people get amazing value. Because it's not just about them. It's the power of the group that spurs them on to actually take action and to have that underpinning support to challenge you when your head is getting in your way and to go, I'm going to stop you right there. Why isn't that possible for you? Or why are you thinking about that in that way? Because you're smart women, you know what it is you need to do, but you need help to actually put that into action, and that's what the Empowered CEO Academy is all about. So look out for more details there. And that's it for me today. I think, oh no, there's one more thing. All of these trainings, I'm not going to leave them up forever in the free group. So what I've done is yesterday I created a training portal page for you. So I'm going to upload the videos from each day in there, and I'll pop a link into the video. In fact, I think I've put it up there. It's a bit.ly link /inspired impact. And so if you go to that link, you'll be able to pop your email address in so that I can send you the link for that page, and that way you'll have permanent access to all of these videos to go back and kind of remind yourself or look for different techniques. All right, have an amazing Tuesday, ladies, and I will see you tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. for the next installment of Inspired Impact. Thanks so much for joining me, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.